One of the great things about Savage Strike as a booster set is that it's full of cards that you're going to see for a long time to come. And some of them are part of themes, but part of what makes them so cool is that you aren't necessarily going to see them as part of those themes. As an example of the kind of card I'm talking about, how about one that you've actually been playing with a little longer than Savage Strike has been out? Good old Neospace Connector. So Neospace Connector, you first got your first shot at it and Soul Fusion Special Edition, and basically it's a card for Elemental Hero Neos and Neospacian decks, but it also saw a lot of play in any decks that just need warriors on the field. In addition to just being able to use it to get your Neospacian, get your Elemental Hero Neos, it's basically a tour guide from the underworld for warrior type monsters. Or you could use it to get something completely different from Neospace Connector, which is a light warrior, for a link monster that needs something of different type and different attributes, something like Alistair, the Invoker. So that's the kind of card I want to talk about in this video. Cards that are pretty strong, good for their own theme, but you're also going to see them for a while to come because of how generally useful they are. Another great example of a card like that is World Legacy Guard Dragon. This continuous spell is basically for the Guard Dragon theme, but the entire Guard Dragon theme itself doesn't necessarily need to be played as its own deck, because the link materials on the link monsters are just dragons or level 4 or lower dragons, and World Legacy Guard Dragon itself can revive or return a level 4 or lower dragon monster from your graveyard to your hand or special summon it back to the field, and it lets you move things around. World Legacy Guard Dragon is a card that's useful in all sorts of dragon decks, or even decks that just happen to have dragons in it, like Crusadia, for example. Crusadia Draco is a useful monster that you can revive or bring back with World Legacy Guard Dragon, and then its secondary effect to let you move monsters around makes it easier for you to set up situations where either your Equimax is going to be huge, or you can create a play where you can use some of those Guard Dragons and then move them around so that you have a zone that multiple link monsters points to get an even bigger monster. It's also useful in decks like Red Eyes to bring back Black Metal Dragon, or Blue Eyes to bring back White Stone of Ancients, White Stone of Legend, that sort of thing. And it's just an all-around useful card. Heck, you could even play it in a Rocket deck if you wanted to. Bring back your Rocket Synchron or something else. And speaking of rockets, what about Revolver's new monster, Borreload Savage Dragon? There are a lot of decks out there that are looking for something to finish games with, something to close out. And many of them use both tuners and link monsters. So why not Borreload Savage Dragon? A card that can equip a link monster in the graveyard to itself, get bigger as a result, and gain counters that it can use to negate spells, traps, and monster effects. Another card that I'm personally a big fan of is Incantation Chalice Slime. So fans of Ritual decks have been picking up Incantation monsters from Cybernetic Horizon and Soul Fusion, and now there's an actual Incantation Ritual monster itself. But, most of the time the Incantations don't go in their own deck. They'll go into every other Ritual deck out there. And Incantation Chalice Slime is a unique card in that it's both a finisher for an Incantation deck itself, but you also never actually have to summon it. If you want to put it in whatever Ritual deck you're playing, you can just hold it in your hand, reveal it, pitch a card, and summon the Incantation of your choice from your deck and trigger its ability. And speaking of things that special summon from the deck, there's Ghost Meets Girl, a Shiranui's story. I'm a big fan of this card because it's good in basically every zombie deck. The whole thing with zombies is that they have a lot of interchangeable parts, and one of those parts that winds up in a lot of decks is Shiranui Solitaire. Ghost Meets Girl can summon a Shiranui from your deck, and that's always a good one to get because you contribute it to special summon Unizombie and just go on from there. If you want to get a tuner directly from the deck, though, you could also get Shiranui Spectral Sword Shade, another card from Savage Strike. Or if you have the older one, good old Shiranui Spectral Sword if you need a level 2. So this card could turn into a level 2 or a level 3 tuner just on its own, or you could run the Solitaire package with Unizombie, or you could do just about anything you want, really. Depends on what you need. And then on top of all of those, you've just got a bunch of really good generic cards that work in a lot of different situations. Psychic Wielder and Psychic Tracker are kind of their own theme, but they're just useful for anybody who wants to do a little bit of synchro summoning, or you could even play them almost like Speedroid Terrortop and use them for Xyz monsters instead. Fantastical Dragon Phantasme isn't really a themed monster, but it's a little more than just a card that can dig for your Ash Blossoms and Droll and Lockbirds and the like. You could also use it to just sculpt your hand for whatever combo you're using. and make decks that normally have a problem going second a little easier to work with. And then there's good old Pot of Extravagance, which is one of the most talked about cards in the entire set. And actually we'll have an entire other video on Pot of Extravagance and how you might be able to adapt it for your own deck as well. Just know for now that it's an incredibly powerful card, lets you draw 2 cards from your main deck in return for sacrificing a bit of your extra deck. And there are a lot of strategies out there that would not mind sacrificing a few random cards out of their extra deck for 2 more from the main deck. So these cards here are just a sampling of the kind of things that you'll find in Savage Strike. There are a lot of fantastic cards in the set, and I think a lot of them are going to be showing up at tables at tournaments for quite some time. Take a look through the set sometime on the official card database at yu-gi-oh-card.com and see if there's anything that'll work out for one of your decks, even if it's not the deck that it was perhaps made for. And I'll see you next time.